Okay, hello guys. So today I have a video that I've been trying to figure out how to word for a while now, but basically the whole topic is discussing new Skull Merchant and why everybody seems to still hate her despite her rework and her 3-gen capabilities completely removed. I think it falls a lot behind the fact that she plays like two killers in one. And if you know how Clown plays, he speeds up himself and he slows down the survivor. That's what Clown does. Skull Merchant does that too, just with extra steps, and it usually takes a lot longer. The survivors actually have more control over them getting slowed down because they can run away from the actual loop. I think the more annoyance, though, is with Clown, at least you can still stay at the loop and you won't get injured, but Skull Merchants will passively injure you, and that upsets a lot of survivors. It does take a while though to get off, and you can usually just hold W because unlike Clown can throw a bottle in front of you while you're holding W to slow you down from getting to the next tile. Skull Merchant can't do that. Her only effect is speed, but her speed is not even comparable to Clown. Clown gets 10% move speed from his yellow bottles. Skull Merchant at max only gets 7%. That's only when all 4 survivors are getting scanned, which is not often. A lot of the times you'll only get like 1 or 2 people scanned at most, especially considering the scans last like 10 seconds unless a claw trap is put on, then it's like 45, 30. But she also plays a lot like Hag, and people really, it's a hit or miss when playing against a Hag. Hags are either really fun to play against for people or really annoying. I know a lot of people that I play with usually don't like going against Hag because they're very like campy playstyle. They set up a web in one side, but that's how you're supposed to play Hag. So you want to set up on one side of the map, and that's how you want to play Skull Merchant. If you have a drone on every different tile in the map, there is only 6 drones you can place, and survivors can easily sneak up to one drone and disable it. Then it's disabled for 45 seconds, and there's nothing you can do except for call it back, but you have to go back and manually place it right where you wanted to. It's not even close to Singularity where he can at least do it from a range. Like, she has to physically go back and place it there. And if you are trying to set up across the entire map Skull Merchant, it's gonna really slow down your momentum. And I just don't think it's going to be worth it. So the best way to play a Skull Merchant is to overwhelm them with drones in a single small area, because it's easy for a survivor to disable one drone without getting scanned, but if 2 drones or 3 drones are pretty close to each other, they're bound to get scanned by one of them, and those scans are really hard to get against good survivors. I can show you here in some of the footage. Okay, so here I'm actually playing against a friend here. I wanted to showcase how to play against Skull Merchant. Obviously, the drone, if you're walking or running through it, it will detect you. But if you crouch, no matter if you're moving or not, the drone cannot detect you. It can go right through you while you're moving. It will not see you as long as you're crouching. Urban Evasion works really good against this. I'm not saying you have to run Urban Evasion to counter just Skull Merchant, but it does work pretty well together. If you don't want to do that, you can do red light, green light, kind of like this. Just stand still when it passes by you. But you can still do things inside the drone's radius that you couldn't do before with old Skull Merchant. So you can still work on gens, you can still move around, you can do everything inside the drone, you just have to be more careful. Whereas the old drone would go through 2 floors, and you had no way to do anything about it unless you disabled it. You disable the drone, it takes a while to go back down, and then when it is actually down, you can tell because it will go back to the same height as it was when it was scanning. Also, when it gets re-enabled, it goes back into stealth mode, and it's a lot easier to dodge stealth mode because it's way slower. There's another part that people really hate about Skull Merchant, and I will say that I've encountered this myself. A lot of Skull Merchant players that I played against are very BME. They'll hump you, teabag you on the ground, they'll bring you over to a hook, and they'll just hit you on hook, and you may not have even done anything. Like, I played against 2 Skull Merchants the other day. We were very chill the whole game. We weren't getting upset with her, and she basically just downed me and humped me on the ground, and then she hit me on the hook repeatedly until I died, basically, and I had no clue why it was happening. So I think a factor to this is that these people that play Skull Merchant are probably giving her a bad rep sometimes, and that is not good to see when other people are associating every Skull Merchant player as being toxic or BMing. So in conclusion, why do people still hate Skull Merchant? She's no longer in her 3-gen glory days. That was a whole rant, right? back when she came out. A lot of people didn't like playing against her. There was a whole hour-long video made on her 3-genning, almost killing the best team in the world by basically just keeping gens the entire time. But they completely removed that from her power because, as you can see, what I showed you, there are things you can do to sit inside the drone without getting detected. You don't even need to deactivate it. You can deactivate it, which I do recommend. If you see a drone inside of a looping area and you know your friend's going to be coming there, you can call out, hey, I just deactivated the drone in this area, you can come loop here, and then the Skull Merchant will have to recall it, set up a new drone, and the drone will be back in scout mode, so it'll be easier for you to avoid. And then when you basically put it out of scout mode, that's when you can leave the loop. That's when it's no longer as safe to go there because the rotation is way faster out of scout mode. There are a lot of things, and even if you are forced to stay in the loop because it's in the corner, you can do the red light green light thing that I just showed you. It is something that I do in Chase. I don't have, I'm sure I have it in my VOD somewhere against the Skull Merchants I played against, but you can do that. You can crouch to continue to move. Like, you can still move while the drone's watching you as long as you're crouching. There are a lot of things people don't know about. You can tell when the drone's going to be re-enabled. I showed you before. There are a lot of ways to counter her, but I think the main reason people don't like playing against her is the fact that she used to be such an annoying killer, and they hold a grudge against her. Because as of right now, I also hated playing against Old Skull Merchant. I DC'd from those 3-gen 1 hour long matches. I played against the guy that played against Team Eternal. I played against him twice, and he sent us to Midwich, and he just hit us on hook and teabagged us on the ground. It was super annoying. I hated playing against her. But when they reworked her, I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. She's no longer a 3-gen camping Andy. She's actually a chase killer. And for some reason, people still don't like that. I asked one of my friends why they don't like playing against new Skull Merchant, and they said two things. They said they do not like the stealth that she gets from placing a drone, because it usually leads to a free hit, and they do not like the speed that she gets. And I can agree that the speed can be really annoying if you're in chase and you're doing super hard to avoid getting scanned by a drone, and then your teammate on the other side of the map gets scanned trying to go work on a gen, and then they give the Skull Merchant 5% speed and it downs you. That wasn't even your fault. That was your teammates literally screwing you over, and I think that is really frustrating. But I also think that without speed, she basically is nothing, because she's just an M1 killer, and as we know in this current state of DBD, M1 killers are just not able to stand up against really good survivors or even average survivors. It's kind of hard to tell nowadays the difference between a baby survivor with windows of opportunity and a survivor who is comp dropping, pre-dropping pallets and just running to the next one. But yeah, a lot of the things, like I said, a lot of Skull Merchants are not the nicest. The two that I've played against in the past week, both teabagged me, humped me on the ground, and then they hit me on hook till I died. There was something behind it, so I think there's more than one factor. People don't like playing against that style of killer, which is fair. I don't like playing against Spirit, but I'm not going to give up on hook. I'm still going to try because I don't want to let my team go, and I know that even though she's really strong in chase, there's still things I can do. I just need to improve. Most of the time a good Spirit will just down you anyways, but that's a different topic. A lot of people have a grudge from what she used to be. A lot of people don't like the players who play Skull Merchant because a lot of them seem to have really negative attitudes or are really toxic in the endgame chat or in-game. And I think those are the main reasons. I'm sure there's some other reasons that you guys could tell me about in the comments, but I've really just been so confused as to why people hate her so much. It seems more so than what she used to be. Because there's a lot of comments I've seen on Twitter and YouTube saying they want her to be reverted to what she used to be, and that's crazy to me because the insta-down, it didn't give you a speed boost. At least when you get a claw trap now, you get a speed boost so you can leave the area. I think that gives you way more counterplay than you had with Old Skull Merchants, where you literally would just get exposed, and then she would get fast, and then she would insta-down you. I think that was way more bullshit than what she has now. Maybe they're referring to her having 4 drones instead of 6. I don't know how that would be changed, but if you're one of the players that still don't like her because of the 3-genning that she's able to do, kind of like setting up like Hag, where you want to have all your drones in a close spot, that's not necessarily because every Skull Merchant is trying to 3-gen. It's because her drones are most effective when they're closer to each other, because you can get scanned more often if you can't keep track of all the drone placements. I think even if she still can 3-gen how people are saying she can, it will not matter when Alan Wake comes out, because the 3-genning is completely removed. I did a lot of testing on the PTB. If you basically just wait long enough for the killer to regress the gen 8 times, then it'll probably take like 20 minutes, which will still be a long time, but then the gens will no longer regress, and then you get the gens done free. No, anything the Skull Merchant was doing will not work, and you'll win. You just gotta play the long con. Um, I still don't think she's like even close to comparable to what Knight can do in terms of 3-genning, or even killers like Singularity, but we're hoping this 3-gen change will fix all the 3-genning problems. I asked a few people, they just say they don't like her, they can't even explain it why. I think people just don't like what she used to be, and they just want her removed from the game, which is fair, but I think people need to realize that she's a different killer now, and that she is not as problematic as any of the S tier killers we face against, and just because you don't like playing against her doesn't mean you need to give up on Hook every time or disconnect. Obviously, we're not going to shame you, but the issue that I'm focusing on is the people that do give up on Hook, then go and harass them. If they're a streamer, they go harass them in their chat for playing this killer, and I don't think you should ever go harass any streamer for the way they play or the perks they're using. For example, I don't like For the People Buckle Up when I'm playing killer because there's literally no counterplay to that combo. But I'm not going to go into another streamer's chat and be like, oh my gosh, you're taking no skill using For the People Buckle Up and getting free escapes, blah, blah, because at the end of the day, it's fun for them, and it's in the game, and I'm not going to be able to enforce that by reporting them to behavior, as some people have said. They want to report you for playing certain killers or playing certain playstyles. I just think everyone needs to treat each other more respectfully and not judge them based off of the killer that they are playing or the survivor that they are playing even, and just kind of treat each other with respect. You can still not dislike it and still make like some suggestions in the forums that this playstyle needs to be changed, or this power is too oppressive, or these perks are too strong, and the devs will look at that. They do look at feedback like that. They look at feedback like a video like this that I'm making. We need to keep it to the forums and not directing it at other people. But that's basically all I had to talk about today. I don't really know how you guys feel about Skull Merchant. I don't know if I explained this well. This is kind of my first like discussion video, but I hope you can maybe comment down below what your thoughts on Skull Merchant are. Maybe I didn't cover some of your dislikes about her, and I would like to see what you guys feel about Skull Merchant. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Bye bye.